my fellow readers, Dark Symphony with another fanfiction review. As always, links to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notification, and leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, we're continuing Super Koopalings. Yes, we're still going with that. There's like 20-something episodes. Oh, so much pain. So much pain. So much pain. So many of these stories. And I mean pain by the other people who want to have theirs to recommend fan fictions and stuff like that. Just be patient. I'm probably gonna start recommending stories again once I'm at the very minimum done with the Super Koopaling stories, because again, there's a lot to go through. But let's keep going on this little train of helping a friend. So, the episode we're doing a review on is episode 10, Crossover Conundrum, and I actually really liked this story. I thought, sure, it's very simple, but it's a nice contrast to this episode previously, which was very overcomplicated and out of the author's depth. Can't blame her for that. You know, every author wants to get ambitions every once in a while. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, that you can. But this story is a complete contrast. It's very simple, very linear. There's not a lot of too much going on, but what it's done, it does relatively well. So let's start with the plot. So the plot actually stars Morton and Lemmy and Iggy. Of course, I mean, I guess at this point you can kind of call Iggy the main character of the entire series, because he's appeared more times, and like the story, he's been like either the main focal point or been a major character in pretty much almost all the stories. And a lot of the plots do involve him, like let's see, them going into the future, the stuff with Wendy's Tailbeard, Runaway Reptile, I believe, to a point. It's weird, so it's just I honestly think at this point, like even Starlight is like realizing, wait a minute, I need a main character. Well, they're all main characters, but we gotta focus on one. Iggy, he's my favorite Koopaling. Let's go with that. And you know, that's fair. Like everyone's like with My Little Pony, it's like, oh, the whole main 6 are the main characters. And it's like, oh, then why do they have so much focus on Twilight? Because she's the main character? Exactly. So the story stars Iggy, Lemmy, and Morton. They get some tickets by scalpers, wank. And they decide to go see a movie, but then they get sucked into a wormhole into another reality. And who could be there to meet them but the Super Mario Super Show versions of the Koopalings. Well, specifically just Hip and Hop, but you get the point. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, we're going to have some fun with this story. We're going to have a lot of fun with this story. And basically, Hip and Hop, they're like really happy. Said, oh, you're from an alternate reality. We got to show Kooky you. And then they meet then they keep like Bully and Cutie Pie. And they meet all the alternate Koopalings. And they also meet alternate King Koopa. And it's King Koopa, not Bowser. You know, and of course, everyone who's seen, I think I might as well explain what this is, what it's crossing over with. So what this is based off is an old 90s cartoon called the Super Mario Super Show. I believe that's called the Super Mario Super Show. Most people really only remember that show for I believe that's a specific Mario show, because there was more than one Mario cartoon in the 90s. I kid you not. But this one had Captain Lou Albano, and I'm a big wrestling fan, so I know who. So even as a kid, I kind of knew who Lou Albano was, because my family was a big wrestling fan. Albano is actually my aunt's favorite like wrestler personality of all, like literally of her childhood. So she was a monster fan of Albano. Me, I'm more of a Chris Jericho person. But and Albano always did do the Mario, and he always danced around it and just and swing your arms. I can't remember the lyrics offhand, but it was an entertaining show. And they have these, they have like more Koopaling, like these alternate versions of the Koopalings when they're like not Roy and Lemmy, they're like Cootie Pie and Cookie and Cheatsy and Bully and all that. And I think it's actually kind of a cult classic at this point. I really only remember it because of Albano. It's kind of sad. So back to the story. They go into the alternate. They meet Hip and Hop, and then Koopa, and then King. When they meet King Koopa, he's like, an alternate reality, eh? And then they once we were introduced to all the alternate Koopalings, Koopa's like, you're gonna send us back. No, we're gonna keep you here. We're gonna take over your world. What? And then Cootie, which is Ludwig, slaps a device called the Brain Lamer. Really? Brain Lamer? Of all things. And hypnotizes Iggy. And so some of the alternate Koopalings go into the main Mario world. And, they start beating the crap out of the canon Koopalings. Because these are very much alternate versions of them. You're wondering, wait, what about Ludwig? Ludwig still has a power suppressor that was introduced in the previous episode on his chest, so he hasn't been able to take it off. So they get scared. It's like we gotta save them. Ludwig and Roy, they kind of do a little sneak out to kind of get the toy back. Kooky pulls a fast one by replacing the wormhole gun with a super soaker, which I think is kind of funny. Especially since Ludwig's like pulling out, like when he finds out, he's like looking and saying, "Why is it so colorful? Wait a minute, this is a toy. You didn't think I would be safe to hide it then in the closet, right? I knew Cheatsy knew what you were gonna do and told me, so I switched the toys. And go into the wormhole you go." And so after that, Ludwig and Roy, they end up in the alternate version. Hip and Hop actually go and save them, and they quickly realize there's only one person who could save us now. We gotta find Mario. And the same thing actually happens in the canon version, well, except for the fact Bowser turns tiny. Like, they shrink Bowser. And then they're like, we gotta go save Bowser. We gotta see Mario, and he's gonna help us. And Bowser's like, okay. So they go, because we have the cartoon Mario with the exaggerated Brooklyn accent. Hey, Luigi, that's the Mama Luigi to you, sir. All right, Mama Luigi. Why is he called Mama Luigi? None of your business. Let's just say it has something to do with spaghetti and leave it at that. And so they get both Marios on ultra size, and they go after they will fight the Koopalings and King Koopa, and they manage to save Iggy, who kind of turns into Doc Ock for some reason. I don't know. And beats up the cartoon Mario, and real Mario shows up, beats up Iggy, saves the day, and it's like, all right, I saved you. Now let me go back to trying wooing Peach. And then the story kind of ends with that. That's actually more or less the plot of the story. It's a very simple plot that is done well, mainly on the grounds that the author really doesn't get too ambitious. But you can honestly see improvements in the writing, the pacing, everything. At this time, she's really finding her groove on what works and what doesn't. So it very much succeeds in this regard regarding the plot of actually maximizing the amount of humor and kind of funny interactions and family moments of the story, but also still keeping its very much cartoony nature to it, of being just over the top, ridiculous nonsense going on. Characters, honestly, there's way too many characters that I would just take too long to talk about. But overall, the cartoon and Koopalings and the game Koopalings, because the author does strike a really good balance of making sure that they're kind of similar but not too similar. Like with Hip and Hop, they kind of finish each other's sentences. Uh, Bully kind of acts like Roy, but just more, with a more stronger Brooklyn accent. Like I was expecting him to say "yeah" to reference Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge. Yeah, Brooklyn Rage and all that. Cookie, acts pretty much almost like Ludwig. Just he doesn't have like pyrokinesis and telekinesis stuff like that. He's just a mad scientist, which is kind of makes sense since in this story, Iggy is the science guy, despite the fact in canon it's always been kind of talking about that Ludwig was the science guy. He's the guy that likes science and music and has, on top of having all the powers, and Iggy was more of a botanical sort of guy. So it kind of makes sense why this in this story, the game version of Ludwig, in this story, the game version of Ludwig is more kind of musical and subdued, while cartoon Ludwig has the mad science nature and the really cookie eyes and stuff like that. And Jitsi is just Iggy, just I believe just tiny and like a scamp. But all the characters work really well together. There's no complaints. Except for maybe Bowser. I honestly think you could have done more Bowser. Like, come on, you had tiny Bowser. There's lots more. I would actually love to see a story of just the adventures of Tiny Bowser. Just picture that. Just picture that image. Bowser gets turned tiny. He's like, I'm gonna kidnap the princess by turning tiny and taking her from under her nose. Oh god. Oh god. I have felt like I walked a mile. Father, you walked 5 feet from the castle. Ah, Koopa! Ah, Miyamoto! Do you need help? Yes. Can you throw me? All right. Okay, now just do it 20 more times, Ludwig. Oh, no, I'm doing that. Right. But yeah, I get like Bowser wasn't bad. I just think I really wanted to see more with Tiny Bowser. I just want to see more with Tiny Bowser. Grammar, there are a couple of grammar errors in the story, but nothing too bad. I think in chapter 6 there was like which I'm actually what's this chapter? It was Koopa's not chapter 6. Chapter 8, when the the cartoon Koopas meet the regular Koopas. Let's see if it's here. Let's see. I can't remember. I think it was chapter 8. It was either chapter 6 or chapter 8. One of the characters say what in the 8 worlds. And then Star actually accidentally forgot to put the underscores in between the words. I forgot to take those off, or accidentally left those on. It was weird. But other than that, there is nothing really wrong. The pacing is fine. I like there was a lot of nuances in the story that I really liked. Like when it came to the final climax, I love the idea that you just basically skipped over. You basically skipped over Mario just kicking the cartoon Koopalings behind, because honestly, it would have just been a waste of time if you actually showed that fight, because honestly, Mario is just like, this is who you ran from? Yes. Luigi beats more scarier people than that. He beat a tall lady in a hotel with a mirror. And a guy obsessed with rubber ducks. Fear the rubber ducks. But yeah, I do like. There's nothing really wrong with the story in terms of pacing, characters, just some grammar errors, and maybe the climax. I don't want to talk about recommending it yet. I'm gonna just talk about what's wrong with the story and then move on to that. I honestly think the climax, the whole climactic battle between the Koopalings and possessed Iggy and King Koopa, it's very underwhelming. I think it fits for what she was trying to do, but I think this is an example that it really could have been much better. Like this would be the only part I would actually want to fix. I'll talk more about it in a couple minutes. But other than that, I see nothing wrong with it. I honestly think next to Runaway Reptile, this is probably my favorite story because there's just so much to love about it. I love the idea. Hell, even the end where it promised like more, like these guys may come back. Like the whole idea of the sequel of these guys becoming like reoccurring antagonists. And I really really like that idea. And I actually want to see what she does with these alternate Koopalings. Like, they find out that Hip and Hop were responsible and stuff like that. It was very fun. So, would I recommend this story? I actually would, but I think it could. But I know you're not gonna like the but. I honestly would love to. I honestly think this should have been a more expansive two-parter. Like, no. Now that I think about it, it would not make sense to make this a two-parter like episode one did. What episode one should have been. But I do like everything. Like, there's nothing wrong except for the climax, which we're gonna talk about. So let's get started. What would I? Hold on, let me just check. What would I change about the climax? Honestly, there wouldn't be much to change. I just think maybe it should have been long. It should have been a little bit more expansive because the whole thing with Iggy being brainwashed and all the build up of the Mario's meeting, and then it kind of ending kind of relatively fast. The main structure of it, like I said, with Mario, like you not even showing the battle between Mario and the cartoon Koopalings because that would have been just way too easy. That was the right call, but I do think the battle between cartoon Mario, the game Mario, and Iggy should have been maybe a little longer. Like that's really what needs to be changed in this fight, just more a matter of length rather than content. Because you built up the final confrontation between brainwashed Iggy and King Koopa. They kind of rush in. King Koopa's like up front saying, "How did you get out of my cages?" And Hip and Hop are like cowering behind all the Koopalings, hoping they don't be seen. Mario's with them, and then Iggy, he puts on the bell. He turns into Doc Ock. He starts fighting. All of them just start trying to stop Iggy, and first thing I would do is I would just have King Koopa be a little bit more proactive. He kind of fits the dichotomy because in the game Mario, Bowser's very proactive, but the cartoon Bowser, he just more or less just stands and complains about stuff and lets the Koopalings do all the heavy lifting. So it kind of makes sense, but there have been times where he has actually, been at least a little bit proactive. Like, not too much. It's very in character for him not really be involved in the fight that much. But I would have liked to see just a little bit something. Maybe like a fireball or two. It wouldn't have to be anything too big. With the length. Now, the length actually has Iggy curb stomping Cartoon Mario because, again, just like it's the inverse of the game Mario beating the crap out of cartoon Koopalings. You would expect the inverse to happen, which did happen. Mario tried, he powered up, he tried to fight. Iggy hit him in the head, and basically hit him in the face, knocked him in the wall, passed out, and that was the end for cartoon Mario. I honestly, and this is where I think should change things. So have instead of just having the end of them meeting Mario and they going up to fight the cartoon Koopalings, have that part end with they getting to the Koopa and Mario seeing the Koopalings for the first time, the cartoon version of the Koopalings, realizing these guys are a bunch of wimps. and kind of make a humorous situation over you, basically highlighting the fact that the Koopalings went from like very fearsome defenders to being like neophytes, noobs, and it's like you couldn't take taken these guys. You could have taken these guys, and then have it here with like Mario just staring incredulously about to go into the castle because we know Mario. It makes all the sense in the world for Mario to just completely steamroll these guys. That's it. But that'll be it. And then we get to the Koopaling. Bow, they rush into the throne room. Bow, have everything played out the same. Koopaling saying, wondering where you come from. Hip and Hop behind them. Iggy coming out, putting it in the belt, turning to Doc Oct. Beating the ever-loving daylights out of all the Koopalings. Hip and Hop, have Hip and Hop, like, kind of just get out of dodge. That way they don't get seen. Have King Koopa just be tiny bit proactive, maybe just a fireball or two, and that's it. How the fight kind of go out a little bit longer by when Mario shows up. King Koopa realizes the severity of the situation, and he realizes, oh dang, this is bad. Have him, Brad, have Koopa like, how did you get past the Koopalings? It's like, those are your kids? I know it'd be kind of character for Mario to be kind of cocky, but Mario deals with Bowser, and the Koopalings on a daily basis. So I think it would be a very hilarious twist that Mario would just get ultra cocky instead of Bowser. Saying, haha. It would be a nice turn of irony for it. Like, hey, these Koopalings are just so underneath my boot with all the crap I had to deal with that they're nothing. You're nothing. You can go in any direction with that you want. And so, King Koopa gets pissed. He's like, and he goes, Iggy, get him! And then Iggy starts swinging his things. And then, he grabs a little, shows up with another item to at least bolster in case one of them gets closer. And Mario and Iggy are going at it. They're again normal, fine length. Mario gets hit a few times to kind of at least live a little tension whenever he gets close. King Koopa, throws fireball. All the Koopalings wait a minute. Koopalings preventing Mario from getting close. And so all the Koopalings, since they realize, wait a minute, Mario curb stomped them. Why are we being up? And then they just have him swarm King Koopa. King Koopa may be the king, but he's still a wimp, and he ain't doing jack. So it make a lot of sense for just the Koopalings to just bum rush him, literally just bum rush. How you go about it? Have fun. You can just go get as creative you want. You just. I honestly think just do like a old football like a football swarm thing. Just run over to him and just jump on him. And then the cartoon Mario wakes up. He sees, hey, it's another Mario. Wait, you're me, not you. And then they go, team up. And then they team up and they beat Iggy quite handily. So you get a little team up between the Marios, and have everything past that kind of play out the same. So again, it's really just. There just needs to be a little more substance with that final confrontation, and that's pretty much it. I would recommend the story. I like the idea. I love the execution. It's only, 19,000? Yeah, it's only 20, about almost a little over, nearly 2,100 words. No, 21,000 words, my bad. And honestly, with if you add it, you only be adding maybe another 1,000. You wouldn't have to add that many words to it. I like the story. I like the idea. I love everything about the story. So what is my favorite part? Tiny Bowser. I'm sorry, I just can't get the idea of Tiny Bowser out of my head. Especially the part where Wendy and Lemmy are Larry. I think I can't remember if it's Lemmy or Larry. One of them. And Wendy go to the Koopa King, go to the Mushroom Kingdom, and they're holding Tiny Bowser. and they're trying to get to the Mari brothers so that way they can tell and ask them, like, can you help us? And they get confronted by these two tow guards. It's like, yeah, we're not gonna let you see the Mari brothers. You're gonna kidnap the princess. Yeah, yeah. And so what happens is Bowser takes a proactive approach. He sneaks up under them, and he lights their feet on fire. I honestly thought it's actually pretty funny. It's a little simple moment, but come on, it fits the scene, it fits the character. It was actually pretty funny reading through it, and it probably shows that everything just is working. Like, Star is finding a beat, is finding her own groove and rhythm, and again, finding out what works and doesn't work. She's throwing out all the stuff that doesn't work. She's trying to keep focus on the stuff that does work. It's a really good story. Like, if the climax was a little bit better, I'd probably say this would be my favorite, but it's probably right next to Runaway Reptile. But but I would say Runaway Reptile's just slightly better. I just like the idea and the execution just a little bit better than the story. And that's my review on Crossover Conundrum. So this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.